Ratio and proportion. In this video, we'll see into the proportion concept. Proportions are useful when we want to find unknown values from known values. But what are proportions? We already have seen into the concept of ratio. Now, if any two ratios are equal to one another, then they are said to be in proportion.
Consider A is to B as one ratio and C is to D as the other one. Now, if these two ratios are equal, we can write an equal to sign in between. These ratios are now in proportion. In place of equal to sign, we can also use this particular sign, and it is read as A is to B as C is to D. Now, when can the ratios be equal? If we can recollect the equivalent ratios concept, then we know equivalent ratios are equal to one another and they can be obtained by multiplying or dividing both antecedent and consequent with same non-zero number. Consider 2 is to 3. If we multiply 2 and 3 with 2, it gives 4 is to 6. Now, 2 is to 3 and 4 is to 6 will be equal to one another. Those are equivalent ratios. In this case, all these four numbers 2, 3, 4, 6 are said to be in proportion as both the ratios are equal to one another. While telling a proportion, the order of numbers is important. Here, we can't swap the places of numbers 2, 3, 4, 6. But we can't tell 2, 4, 3, 6 are in proportion. Order is very important while telling a proportion. In a proportion, we have seen that A is to B and C is to D are two ratios and they are equal to one another. Extreme values, that is A and D, those are called as extremes, and the middle values B and C are called as mean. For any proportion, the product of extremes will be equal to product of means. Extremes are A and D, so A into D will be equal to B into C. Let us consider the same example that we have seen just now. 2 is to 3 is equal to 4 is to 6, or we can say 2 is to 3 as 4 is to 6. Now identify the extremes and means here. Take the product of extreme values. 2 and 6 are extreme values. So 2 into 6 is the product of extremes. 3 and 4 are mean values. So 3 into 4 is product of means. 2 into 6 gives 12. In the same way, 3 into 4 also gives 12. Both are equal. So we can tell that product of extremes will be equal to product of means. But way to use this proportion concept. The proportion concept, we have four numbers. When we know any three of these numbers, we can calculate the fourth one. Let us see this with help of an example. Here, a man travels 35 kilometers in 2 hours. With the same speed, how far can he travel in 4 hours? Let us consider the ratio kilometers is to hours. The first one is 35 kilometers in 2 hours. The same speed, which means it would be equal. We don't know the number of kilometers. Let it be x is to 4 hours. So, how many kilometers in 4 hours? As per the rule, the product of extremes should be equal to the product of means. So, here the extreme values are 35 and 4. So, we'll take 35 into 4 and the mean values are 2 and x equal to 2 into x. Here if we transpose 2, it will become 35 into 4. Here it is into 2, so it will become divided by 2 is equal to x. Now on simplifying this, we'll get x equal to 70. We can tell 70 kilometers in 4 hours. Let us look into another example. Cost of 2 apples is 180 rupees And what is the cost of 5 kgs of apple? 2 kgs is for 180 rupees, as the cost would remain same, would be equal to 5 kgs will be for how many rupees? In that we'll keep x as a value. Product of extreme values, that is 2 into x, will be equal to product of means 180 into 5. Now transpose the 2, its multiplication here. On the other side it will become division. So 180 into 5 divided by 2. This goes on 90 and x will be equal to 450. From this we can tell that 5 kgs of apples can be obtained for 450 rupees. Consider this example. Raj purchased 3 pens for 15 rupees and Anu purchased 10 pens for 50 rupees. Whose pens are expensive? So 3 pens is for 15 and 10 pens is for 50. So we'll see whether these numbers are in proportion or not. For that we have to equate. When we say they are in proportion, we'll try to find the product of means and extremes. So extremes are 3 and 50. Means are 15 and 10. If we see the products here, they are equal, which means in both the cases they have got pens at the same rate.